What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about Premium Booster 02. You see, there's something going on with Premium Booster 02, and it's not like it normally is, and it's not like we might necessarily expect it, but it turns out we've got God Packs. Now, this could mean many different things. We've seen different kinds of God Packs in the One Piece TCG. We'll talk about some of those in a moment. But the thing to point out right at the beginning is, when we say God Packs in Premium Booster 02, there's actually more than one different configuration of God Pack, and that alone is kind of weird. So the first one that we saw coming around were the God Packs, which are all Gold Don. Loads of Gold Don, nothing but Gold Don, you get yourself a bunch of Gold Don. Okay, that's kind of cool. But then, of course, we had this question of, well, hang on a second, we've got Gold Don coming, but what does that actually mean? So we have a look at this one here that came around from Harrier1085 over on Twitter, and we've got your Snake Luffy, Charlotte Pudding, we got Usopp, we got Kyros, we got Rob Lucci, we got Nami, we got Carrot, we got Smoker, we've got Chopper, and we've got Sugar. And we look at that and we go, well, hang on a second, there's 30 Gold Don in the set. So the general thing here would be, well, either 10 of them have been essentially put into a God Pack, as in the God Packs always contain the same 10, but that would make those 10 a little bit less rare, and that would kind of ruin the ratio. So, although I saw that suggest, I didn't think that was probably going to be the case. But then the other suggestion would be, well, hang on a second. What if it was just they split the 30 Gold Don into 3 sets of 10, and when you got yourself a Gold Don, you would get yourself one of those sets of 10? Could that be what we're looking at here? And that would be a fairly sensible suggestion. But the answer is no. That is not what's going on here. Take a look at this pack of Gold Don. We've got ones that weren't featured in the other pack I showed you. We got, Marco coming in here and Buggy. But then we've also got Rob Lucci and we've also got Nami. And we go, well, hang on a second. Some of those are overlapping with the one we saw earlier, but not all of them are overlapping. And then there's this picture which has been found. Shout out to, by the way, to Vampire Gaming, who's been very good at collecting some of these together. And here we see another alleged God Pack open, but now we've got your Blackbeard, your Marshall D. Teach, and Yamato, and a bunch of others we can't see. But that doesn't really matter, because I've just shown you 3 different God Packs, all of, of Gold Don, all of which have a different configuration. And to put it bluntly, if we got 3 different God Packs, all of which have a different configuration already, we don't need to put much more time, effort, and thought into the fact before we turn around and go, oh, it's completely random. The idea that only 10 of them would be in a God Pack and the other 20 would only be available, that was always a bit unrealistic to me. But I did think it was absolutely possible that they would just do essentially 3 different sets of 10. That is not what they're doing. It seems to be completely random. Okay, so we have these God Packs made up of Gold Don. You get 10 random Gold Don, and bearing in mind the pull rates on the Gold Don are very, very low. So we look at that and we go, well, honestly, that's pretty sweet. I would love to get one of those God Packs. Turns out, however, that is not the only configuration of God Pack we've seen, because Momomon325 over on Twitter has gone and shared this. Now, as with all of this stuff, we always have to remember kind of a little bit of a pinch of salt in terms of these are things posted on social media. We assume them to be true. They seem to be true. They are believable, but they are, I can't fly to Japan and confirm these. So again, little bit of a pinch of salt. But what we can see here is a bunch of different alternate arts from Luffy at the start all the way back to Newgate at the end. And then we go, well, hang on a second then. That just looks like we get a bunch of alternate arts. And yeah, frankly, that's what we get. we get a bunch of alternate arts, and that's how it works. So now we're left with two different kinds of God packs of Premium Booster 02. One of which is giving us Gold Dawn, another one of which is giving us all alternate art cards. But you may notice here that there's one thing that is not there, and that is we don't have manga. We don't have reprinted mangas. Bearing in mind, the God Pack for Premium Booster 01 was that you would get the Manga Rares. That's how they worked. You open up a God Pack of Premium Booster 01, you got the Manga Rares, and you were delighted. And that was the only way to get the Manga Rares. You would have to open them up in a God Pack, but when you did, you got all the Manga Rares, and you felt like the luckiest One Piece fan alive because you got all the Manga Rares. Well, I'm not saying that's not here. You know, bearing in mind Premium Booster 01 has only just come out, so, you know, it's only been a couple of days, but we've seen multiple God Packs, which are all Gold Dawn, and we've seen God Packs which are all alternate arts. Do we think it is likely that we've also got God Packs that are all mangas, but either no one's pulled one or no one's posted about it yet? I am going to go out on a limb and suggest that that is not entirely realistic. Not only that, but I've gone and had a little bit of a gander on the official website, where the card gallery has been updated and now includes alternate art cards. Doesn't have the manga on there. Now, again, that doesn't prove there's no Manga Rares, but it definitely creates an assumption. So it seems to be that essentially what we've got here is different kinds of God Packs, but not the Manga Rare God Packs that we got back in Premium Booster 01. Now, this is going to lead to a question which a lot of people have all the time about this stuff, and I don't blame them. Are we getting these in English? Are we going to be getting these God Packs in English? And I think probably. Because here's the thing, right? Generally speaking, we don't get God Packs. Japan gets God Packs. We don't need God Packs because, of course, we get treasure rares. Now, we can all argue at some point about what we'd prefer and all of that. That's absolutely fine. But in a regular set, not a premium booster set, but in a regular set, Japan gets God Packs which are all the alternate art leaders, and we get the treasure rares. We don't get those God Packs, but we get the treasure rares as a make-do. But of course, in Premium Booster 02, it's a PRB set, so we don't get the treasure rare here. And if we don't get the treasure rare, then that would make it presumably more likely that we would get the God Packs. And we did get the God Packs for Premium Booster 01. And you add that all up together and you go, well, hang on a second. This actually works quite nicely. So no, I cannot tell you if we are going to be getting God Packs in English. No one can tell if we're going to be getting God Packs in English. The only people that can tell you are people that work for Bandai, and they're going to be under NDA, and I'm assure you, ladies and gentlemen, they are not going to be spilling the beans. However, I think it's fair to assume, and it is an assumption, nothing more, but I do think it's fair to assume we probably will be. Because we did for Premium Booster 01, we don't have treasure rares that we would be getting instead of God Packs. You add those up together, and I do think it's far from guaranteed, but I do think it is at least likely that we will be getting God Packs. Does that mean we'll be getting both different configurations of God Packs? No idea. But I do, again, think that's likely. As always, you know, when it's confirmed, when we actually know, I will come back and tell you. That's the kind of thing that I do. But I do think at this stage, we should have the presumption that it's going to happen. And I do think it's more likely than not. And then we can kind of think about it and worry about it later. I, for one, am pretty hyped about this, because as I always tell you about God packs, right? No, it is not likely that any of us are actually going to pull one. It is far more likely that none of us are ever going to pull a God pack. But the fact that God packs do exist is wonderful, and I love it, and you never know. Like, presumably one day that there's at least a chance I'll get one, and then I'll be a very happy wussy. So the short version here essentially is, yes, there are God packs in Premium Booster 02. There are two different kinds, one with Gold Don, one with alternate arts. It seems that there are not Manga Rare God packs, which means there are not Manga Rare reprints. And judging on everything we can see, I think it's likely that we get them in English, but likely does not mean guaranteed or confirmed. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this. Do you want these, and which God pack would you prefer? Which I'm assuming is going to be the gold one, but let me know anyway in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And please do remember, with the YouTube algorithm changes, likes and comments mean a lot more than they did before, so drop them down below. I would be delighted. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wussy Plays.